Hey everyone, it's Evan with Merriweather Designs again, and today we're going to indulge in one more love affair with the Concord character designs. As a refresher, the game was average at best and would have done reasonably well if not for two reasons. One, it took too long to come out, and two, the character designs are uninspired and in some cases outright ugly. Now, in my previous video, I took a look at the designs and did my own spin on them. And now we're going to take another stab at some of the other weak designs in the game. So first up, we've got Roka. So the problem with Roka is really straightforward, actually. The color selection and oversimplicity of her weapons and equipment are what drag her down. These muted tans and browns that she's got all over her bodysuit can work if you compensate by making the actual armor or clothing design interesting. But for some reason, the character designers of Concord doubled down on the boring factor. On top of that, her design says literally nothing about what her role in combat is. She's supposed to be this aerial mobility focused character, like Pharah from Overwatch, but just look at her. She doesn't have a jetpack or a wingsuit or any kind of zero gravity tech on her armor or anything. If you look at the gameplay, you can see that all of her flight utility comes from her shoes, which are apparently jet boots. And also, in some of the footage, if you're seeing here, I'm going to repeat it on the screen. She just has jets coming out of her back inexplicably. There's no thrusters there. It's just flame coming out of her back. It's just floating there. It doesn't make any sense visually with her design. With all that said, let's hop over to my drawing pad and then take a look at what I came up with as far as the redesign goes. So instead of the weird rubber-looking bodysuit, I gave her some actual armor and flight equipment. Like Pharah from Overwatch. Again, I'm referencing her all the time. I wanted to lean into the bird of prey motif, so I gave her wings and a head plume. But as I was designing this, I wanted there to be a clear function for each of the bits and pieces that I added. So the wings, of course, have stabilizer jets on them, but so do her shins. And her head plume actually serves as a low thrust stabilizer that reduces stress on her neck by syncing its thrust up with her backpack. So effects wise, this would look really cool in the game because her head plume would flare up whenever she does like an air dodge or a quick dash. So that would give her something, kind of gimmicky to lean on aside from, oh, I fly and I have a bird wing backpack. Next up, we have Kyps, a robot secret agent with clear parallels to the spy from Team Fortress 2. At a glance, her design gives you a basic idea of her role, so they got that part right. However, there are significant issues that hold the design back. First, the mask. So, while Kyps is a robot and wouldn't normally need to be expressive, her character is portrayed as, I would say, enthusiastic and self-assured. The mask fails to reflect that personality, and it's just static and motionless no matter what she's saying or doing. This in turn limits her ability to connect with the player. A more dynamic or abstract mask would have allowed for greater emotional range, ironically enough, because it would force players to interpret her body language and vocal tone instead of trying to read her face, which doesn't move. Last, the suit design itself is kind of odd and uninspired. The color selection's a bit strange, and the suit itself looks a bit too modern, like fashion hasn't evolved in however many centuries in the future Concord is set. For a game that takes place in the far future, you'd think they would do some more with a business suit design. You get this with characters like Connor in Detroit Become Human. That game only takes place a few decades from now, but his suit looks very futuristic. But I digress. Let's take a look at the drawing pad to see what I came up with. So I wanted to keep the secret agent design intact, but also put my own spin on it. Given her combat role as a stealthy disruptor character, I leaned into a ninja motif to get that point across. She throws bombs, she can turn invisible, and is the only character with a suppressor on her weapon. I kept the torso in a business suit design for the sake of that secret agent vibe, but her arms and legs are very much inspired by the clothing we see ninja wear in popular media. With this ninja motif, I also gave her a tanto, which is a Japanese dagger styled after a katana. In keeping with this futuristic design philosophy, the dagger has a heated edge so it can cut more effectively. Pay attention to the mask. While I left the design mostly intact, instead of the lifeless goggles on her face, I turned these eye areas into LED displays that change with Kyps' expression in real time, so her quote-unquote eyes can move with what she's saying. This in turn would help get across her enthusiastic characterization that you hear in her dialogue lines. Real quick, if you're enjoying my analysis and art, consider leaving a quick like on the video or commenting which of my designs so far is your favorite. I'm a new channel and I need all the help I can get in the YouTube algorithm, so anything you can contribute towards this video would be really nice. Also, I made another Concord video with 3 different characters that you may be interested in watching after this one. It's longer form with a more in-depth breakdown of my design process, so check it out if you're interested. Anyway, let's get into the final design for this video, the one that you clicked on it for. Oh boy. So this is Itzy, and the funny thing about her is that her design isn't actually terrible, it's just extremely unfocused. She's supposed to be this chaotic sort of character, and she can teleport and create illusory decoys of herself, and is also extremely agile and light on her feet. And while some of this gets the point across, her design has an issue where it echoes things that we see right here on Earth, and not in a good way. Itzy looks like a homeless person or a meth head that's just kind of strung out, and she threw on whatever clothing she had available at the time. On top of that, the clothes themselves are tattered, they're in terrible condition, and her hair looks like she cut it on her own with a knife and no mirror. Like, why is she wearing leggings with shorts over them? And her design is just crammed full of disparate elements and color combinations that don't synergize well at all, and it just looks like an overloaded design with no point or intention to it. So, to challenge myself, I'm going to leave her color scheme intact and work with it. So let's try and focus her design up a little bit. Here's what I came up with. So I liked her kind of gold and orange and red leggings, so I extended those out into an asymmetrical bodysuit to kind of keep that chaotic energy intact. By pushing the focus away from her odd skin and hair color choices, she can comfortably wear this red and orange bodysuit without it feeling out of place, since it's her primary color now. To break up the bodysuit, I gave her a white sash belt, and she also has some light armor on her shins and forearms. I also modified her hairstyle to be a bit more intentional and less distracting. I like the chaotic vibe that came with the original, but come on, no one respects bowl cuts or anything even resembling a bowl cut. Yes, that's a personal bias, but I stand by it. Generally speaking, Itzy's design would benefit from a kind of less is more school of thought, and that's what I tried to do here. So I hope you liked it. Now let's jump over to a combined image and close out the video with some final thoughts. All in all, these are my 3 character redesigns for this video. I tried to push them in a direction that cued you into what their roles in combat were based on their physical attributes, and specifically in the case of Itzy, focused her design in to be more iconic and less cluttered, just so you actually have something to work with visually. So, it's been fun dunking on Concord designs, but I can't do this forever, so I hope you all will stick around for what I have planned next, which will most likely be the main focus of this channel going forward. To elaborate, I'm planning on making voiced audio comics for you all, featuring my art and voiceover skills. So I hope to see you all again when my first one is ready later this month. This has been Evan with Meriwether Designs, and I'll see you all next time, whenever that is.